Hello, my name is Caroline Vaitkunas. I'm a Sister of Mercy working in the Peace, Ecology and Justice Office at the Columbans Mission Centre in Australia. And today I'm joined by Tevita, Naikasowalu, who is the coordinator of the Justice, Peace and Integrity of Creation in Fiji, for a conversation. So thank you, Tevita. And we're mindful this year St Columbans Mission Society is celebrating its 70th year jubilee of mission in Fiji. And over that time, Columban missionaries have been involved in education, running parishes and focusing on issues of justice, peace, ecology and interreligious dialogue. In his encyclical letter, the Pope reminds us that caring for our sisters and brothers means caring for Earth, the home we all share. The experience of Columban missionaries is that all creation form one Earth community and that we are called to work together for the good of all in a spirit of care and relationship. Tevita, for many years you've lived and worked in the area of the Columban parish of St Pius X, which is in Suva, Fiji's capital city on the southern island of Viti, Levu. What are some of the changes that you have noticed as a result of climate change, and what are the trends?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity to share some of the stories, challenges that we face here. Climate change is global. And for us on a small island state like Fiji, surrounded by sea, the impact is felt all around the islands. And as you mentioned, I was only baptized in the parish of St. Pius in Rawanga. I joined the Columbans last year, but I have worked around this area for more than 10 years. I've lived in Suva for the last 10 years. And of course, yes, our beaches, even the beaches outside this office, we can see the wave marks that have started to push in from the previous marks, because they are coconut trees, trees that the sand have overtaken them. You see the developments here around Suva. If you live in Suva, it's extending outwards towards the sea because of the view, because of the beaches, because of the sunrise, because of the sunset, and people certainly want that. And you see, development bring communities in, development bring people in, and that's where the issue is, and the issues we are facing now. And that's one example that I'm showing you is Nanuku, because we have been working there as a parish. The Columbans here have worked there for more than 50 years, and they know, and it is a classical example of development, social issue, climate change, all bundled in together, and how churches, NGOs, and government try to help and work together to solve this issue.
Who are at the forefront of these impacts, and what are they sharing with you?
These are normal people who have been reasoned for access to amenities, services, and education. So the only places that they can manage to squeeze in are those areas. And they are all in the developed boundaries, living right on the edge of the mangrove swamps. They are already living impact of climate change. We have witnessed cyclones in Fiji, 2016 and 2020, which I both participate in the humanitarian work, and the devastation is enormous. And all around Fiji, not only the Nanuku context is just only an example of what we have here close by to Suva, to our office. There is Navua, there is Singatoka, there is Mba, there is Bonolevu, there is one close to my village, the first ever village to be relocated. This village has been the first village in Fiji to be relocated, called Vulindangaloa. So that is another example of that I know of where I am from in terms of the story of climate change and sea level rise. It is, the effect is all over. And there are places that I know now in Navua that their graveyard have all gone into the water. In Lakemba, they are sinking into the sea in Kandavu, and it's all over Fiji. And these are verified stories which we can get documented.
You mentioned the mangroves, and particularly for the settlement community who are living really right in the mangroves. what are some of the impacts of climate change on those mangroves, and why are the mangroves important to the well-being of people there?
Well, mangrove is the first natural barrier and protection for the ecosystem itself. There is constant flooding. Whenever it's a high tide, that community will be submerged. That happens every day. The biggest contributor to climate change is we as human beings. Here in Fiji, we are contributing to that by the massive approval of extraction, burning of mangroves, because you have a big, better seafront for hotels. They remove and their biodiversity is lost. They are the nursery for all marine life, and they put that together. It's medicinal and it's food. It's a food forest. Once you remove that, you remove the whole cycle of life, and that happens here in Fiji on major scale for development. And extraction is one. That's why we've been standing up against black sand mining on the foreshore of Mba, which the Columban mission is, and Singatoka. These are huge rivers, thousands of acres. And of course, in the mountains, where removal of forests. These are contributors. These are big contribution to climate change. We are the one making, and we can remove, and we can make that better again by stopping this. And that's why one of our main work here in the mission for the justice and peace is standing up and voicing the voices of all these communities.
Tevita, I'm aware of the many graphic issues that you're raising, and also that the magnificence of creation is also important to people's culture, to their spirituality and health and well-being in a broader sense of life. And you mentioned being an Indigenous person. Is there anything that you would wish to share with us around how these impacts are affecting people's cultural and spiritual well-being?
Indigenous people, I'll share mine, they are extremely spiritual people. Everything about us has a spirit to it. There's a spirit of the tree, the spirit of the sea, spirit of the river, spirit of the animal, the bird. For us, land comprised of sea, water, river, sky, everything in it. People and everything, spirituality, sin and non-sin. That's what we call Avanua. So our life is very much a spiritual life. And when you call my name, you don't call me by Tevita. You will address me by the name of my land. You address me, which is called Navatu, which is called the rock. And for us as Indigenous people, when we see the sea, we see ourselves. We see the river, we see ourselves. We see the land. That's why we cry out very much when these things, because that we do not. For us, well-being is about relationship. To have you can live in a village without a single cent, and you live because you have firewood there, you have vegetables there that go, you have root crops, you have fresh water, fresh coconuts, you have fresh fish. You can build your house from timber, from bamboos, from leaves, from vegetables. Yes, all the skills you need is there. You do not need anything else. And for us, our well-being is based on relationship. That's why we live communally. And it's based on this, that it's not an I, it's a we. We always together. It's always plural. That's why you find our house always with one big mure, all no rooms, all everything in one. The common good, that's part of our way of life from long before. Because we are tribal people. We always live, move, work, live and die together.
Thank you. That's very powerful. And here, great sense of passion and, the depth of meaning that all of this has. And it's really important for us to hear. At times we might look at the climate crisis and think about and wonder and pray for people who are at the forefront. And we also need to be aware of the great gift and strength and talent of people and the resilience that's there, and the role of faith as well in the community. So do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with us around what's important in nourishing a sense of belonging and empowerment more widely within our region of Oceania around these critical issues? sort of to help build that sense of solidarity and standing alongside communities at the forefront.
For us here looking out to your side, there is no difference between the colors of people. For us, Wanua means everything in it. Because I think we are facing that problem here too, to redefine what wealth is, what wealth means to us. For us, wealth just simply means relationship, well-being, happiness. Happiness is not having how much, so how we can share. That's what happiness is. The new idea of getting wealth is only for myself. That changes the whole idea. We're fencing our houses now. We're putting doors that closing in. We are putting barriers. We are demarcating ourselves up. We are building walls between our old selves. And that's what new wealth bringing in. Because when you accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, that's automatically I try and look only for myself. And if I'm a clan leader, I will only look at how I can benefit. So let's go ahead. Let's cut down those trees. The logging companies will take it. I will get my share. I forget about the people and all the other animals, birds, and the living things that relies on the tree and how we can get water, rain. That's the struggle that we are struggling with now in the Pacific. We have been assaulted with economic, huge loads of these economical ideas that we'll get rich, we'll have money. There have been so much money poured in, but we have been bringing to go so poor. Before we didn't have all these problems. We were just sharing, we were just using what there. And we were sharing and caring for each other, and there was no so much disease. There was not so much. And I think that can work again for us. And I believe, like you and Nana are talking as Columbans of the Oceania family, that's a great impact. We can go back to that family. That we have only one earth, one ocean. One ocean is what really brings us together. And we need to redefine again what really matters in happiness for us, and that's the key.
Thank you. Yeah, really powerful. Thank you very much for everything you've shared with us today, Tevita. And yeah, if there's any final thoughts, otherwise we'll wind up now.
I'm really thankful to the Columban community. I've been, before joining the Columban, I was with the Archdiocese of Suva and Caritas, but before that, I was always a community person, working on community projects in villages. And yeah. The Columbans have their strength in our global reach. And the Columbans have been doing justice and peace work throughout the world in different contexts. That's a great plus I see in our Columban area. And we have different countries, time zones, and cultures, and that we can talk across that and share the common issues and voice. And that's what's really a great impact and a great tool that we have as Columbans in a community that we can use to help other people. Storytelling is the most powerful and profound way of making changes, because in that conversation it has feelings. I'm really talking to you with emotions too. Because when I talk, I run out of my words start running, because I'm again living in that. And that's why it's good to have networks like this, our Columban networks and all other, the Laudato movement, the ecological justice, and what Pope Francis is doing for us. And it's reawakening the original sense of what it means to be indigenous, just meaning original people. What God intended us to be, really, to be as original people in His likeness and image.
Thank you very much, Tevita.
Now this wind will change.
To land of life we sail. Our tears, our sighs, our pain will fade. We'll laugh and smile again. But when I see your eyes with hope and faith inside, that tells me it's alright. Don't worry, we'll be fine. That tells me it's alright. Don't worry.